If you are seeing this video, we have made it out of the trenches and I have figured out how to work this microphone. So if you are seeing this, please give it a thumbs up because this is the 4th time that I am trying to film this. Hey guys! So in today's video, I am going to be going over my January and February wrap up. I did not read that much in January. I was going through a pretty crappy slump, so then I just decided to put them together. I don't know if it was the holiday blues, so to speak, but I really could not for the life of me want to pick up a book in January, and I don't know if that had anything to do with the amount of books that I kind of started and stopped or like the ratings I gave, but I had a little bit of a rougher time in January reading. Anyway, let's get started because there are quite a few books to go through. In January, I read 4 books, and 1 of them was physical and 3 of them were digital, and my average rating for the month of January was a 3.63, which for me is not awful because a 3 means I read it and I finished it. If I give you a 3 for the most part, I didn't hate it. So 3 for me is I finished it. It got me to finish it, so it's good enough for me to finish. And then anything above that is like bonus points. That's how I rate my books. I'm not too picky. I rate it based on how I enjoy it, what I liked, what I didn't like, and yeah. So the first book I read was Celestial Combat by Christina Russo. I gave this book a 3 stars. I think it was supposed to be kind of a dark romance, but it had like the mafia aspect to it and stuff. This book follows Callie or Kali and Zane. And Kali is a mafia heiress. Zane is an ex-assassin. A very traumatic event happens to Callie, and she decides to take some of her power back by joining kind of this illegal fight ring, and Zane is the owner of that fight ring. He also just happens to be her brother's best friend. Also, due to rising tensions in the mafia, they do have to live together for a while, and we all know how that goes. So this book started really good. The banter started really good. The pacing I really liked. I really enjoyed just reading about the 2 of them and watching how fiery they were with each other. And then it just kept going, and I felt like it kept just throwing plot holes at you and then solving them right away. It wasn't satisfying because it wasn't, I guess, drawn out. I feel like if there were fewer plots in this book and they were just drawn out a little bit more, then it would have been better than just having so many and then solving them right away. Also, you know when you're reading the forbidden romance and the person that you're forbidding, that's forbidding it, what are words? I don't know. Okay. Foreboding it? The person that don't want it to happen, they find out and then, oh my God, no. So that was so anticlimactic that I don't even know where to begin to say how anticlimactic it was. Like, there was not, you could have just made the brother not even exist at that point. Like, it was just pointless. I don't get it. I don't. The friend group, though, saved the book for me. I did enjoy reading about the found family and how close everyone was. And the plot twists were well done. It just was really long, and after a while, you started losing interest in the banter of the 2 characters. The next book I read was His and Hers by Alice Feeney, and I really wanted to read this because I want to watch the show, and I'm one of those people that have to read the book first and then watch the show or movie. So I picked this up. I gave it 3.5 stars. It follows Anna, who is a newscaster, and Jack. They live in a town called Blackdown, and it is a really small British town. There's a murder that happens in the town, and Anna is reluctant to cover it because she does know the person that was murdered, and Jack is the detective who kind of at first thinks Anna's the one doing it, but then he also is starting to get framed for it as well. I enjoyed the book overall. Lately, when I have been reading a book by Alice Feeney, I've been having a really hard time getting into it until after the 60% mark. This is the second book I read where it took me a really long time to get into it and to really connect with the characters. And I wouldn't say I still fully connected with them. The plot twist, I guessed part of. I didn't get the whole thing, but I got the main chunk of it. And I didn't think it was that great of a plot twist once it kind of all wrapped up. I feel like that's kind of where it was leading you to go. Also, there's a ending that happens with another character that I don't think I didn't really like it that much because I didn't feel like it was justified or fair. This one's a bit darker than a lot of the other Alice Feeney books I've read, and also a bit over the top, like suspend your belief type over the top. I didn't really like the characters. I didn't like Anna. I didn't like Jack. I didn't really like anybody. So I was having a really hard time connecting with them. And that could probably also too be why it took me so long to get into it, because I wasn't connecting with the characters. So yeah, there was that. The only physical book I read in January was The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole, and I gave this a 4 stars. This follows Diana and Liam. He goes by Sam Kyle, but they call him Liam in the book. And Diana, is about 1,000 years old. She is a monster, and she was formed because her sister was dying, and she called on anyone to help save her sister, and she just happened to call on a devil. And she works for him now. She has to do anything he says. He wants to get this relic that can open up portals to different worlds so he can rule over everything. And Liam is the person that closed those realms, and he has been away for a while. He's been going through a lot after the end of the war they had to close those realms. So when he hears about the relic, he comes back, and Diana is sent to try and kill him. And it doesn't happen. Liam catches her, and then she is put into a hard predicament and decides to make a deal with Liam to keep her sister protected and turn against the guy she was bonded to so they can find the relic before him. And I ate this book up. All I can tell you is I had a good time, okay? Liam and Diana were fun. They were great. I loved the world. The world building in this was really cool. There was a little bit of everything. There was devils, vampires, pixies, stardust. I don't know. There was just a little bit of everything, and it was really fun to read. The only thing I will say is you can tell she's a chunky baby, and I felt like not everything in here needed to be in here. It just felt a really long. I also think like that moment that they came together, they hated each other. Okay, you felt that hate. And I feel like the moment they came together could have been more impactful, could have been more like, it just could have been more. I just wanted more from that moment. You spent all this time reading about them, and then how much they hate each other, and then when they finally get together, it doesn't pay out like you wanted it to. Other than that, it kept me on my toes. It was so fun. All the betrayal and plot twists in this book was insane. I never saw anything coming. It was slapping me across the face all throughout this book. So yes, I would recommend this one. This is when I was like, oh my God, I think I'm getting out of my slump. This one was like the first book I read, and I was like, I really enjoyed it. The last book I read in January is Camera Chemistry by Chelsea Curto, and I gave this book a 4 stars. It follows Maggie, who's a neurosurgeon, and Aiden, who is a children's oncologist. They both are recently divorced and kind of just living their day-to-day life. They're each talked into doing a meet cute photo shoot by their best friends, and while they're on set, they realize that they have a lot of chemistry, and they decide to spend a night together and then go their separate ways back to their regular lives. This is a novella in the series Love Through a Lens, and I loved this book. I think for a novella, it was really fleshed out, and it did a really good job of getting you hooked on these two characters right away, so you just fell in love with them right away. I also loved their friends and the found friendships they already had. I mean, I'm not going to say the plot, there was a lot of plot. It was mostly smut. Let's be honest. But the plot that was in there that was twiddly-deed into the pages was done really well. I really believed that these two people belonged together. Aiden was so respectful, and it was nice to see a older man actually act like an older man. I feel like a lot of times when authors write older men, they still come off very young, but he actually seemed like his age. I think how they went their separate ways and how they met back up was really cute and really well done. The only thing that I didn't give it a 5 star, I wanted it to be longer. I feel like once everything happened, it was rushed to get them to come back together. And I feel like if it wasn't a novella, it wouldn't have had to be. And you could have still watched their relationship or the yearning a little bit more. I wanted more of it because it was so fast. Primarily, most of the book is that one night together. And then that's mostly all of the book. And then when you get to the end, when they realize that they kind of want to see where this could go and they need to find each other, it's very rushed. But other than that, I'm really excited to keep going in this series. I really enjoyed these characters and the chemistry that they had. Those were all the books I read in January. In February, I read 8 books. So I think my slump was ending. I think I was getting into more of a groove of things and getting back into reading. 7 of the books were digital and 1 of them was physical. And my average rating was a 3.66, which is an improvement. I had a little bit more fun reading in February. The first book I read was Venomous Kiss by T.L. Smith. I gave this book a 3 stars. It follows Lilith and Rion. Lilith just walked in on her husband cheating on her, so she decides to get back at him and sleep with this hot guy at the bar that she has been kind of making eye candy with, and that is Rion. They spend the weekend together after hooking up, and then they go their separate ways, and then down the line they meet up again, and Rion wants to see where this thing could go. There's also an aspect of a little bit of dark romance to it and like secret society stuff. So this was a book. I will give you that. I finished it. Okay. And so that's a 3 star. It was chaotic. There was a plot in there, I think. To be honest, they both were kind of supposed to be kind of crazy, and it just didn't work for me or feel as believable as other morally gray men I've read. And the whole aspect of the society was just a little far-fetched, and also I felt like the story didn't even need it. But I think the book was banking on being chaotic, but it wasn't done in like the, oh my god, they're so crazy. It was done in, to me, I was just very like, oh, this is a lot. I don't have words really to tell you much. It kept me reading it. Like, it was one of those things where you couldn't look away. You just had to know how it ended, how it all pulled together. But it also wasn't good. So there's that. Also, just for, his pet name for her was Caterpillar. And I just feel like if a man ever thought that that was the nickname for me, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing. Okay, I don't understand where that nickname came into that author's forefront of their mind, and they said, that is it. That's going to be the panty dropper right there. Next, I read Caught on Camera by Chelsea Curto, and this is in the Love Behind a Lens series where I read the novella in January. I give this a 3.5 stars. So this follows Aiden from the first book's best friend, Sean, who is an up-and-coming coach for the NFL. He is the youngest coach in the league. And it follows Lacey, who is Maggie's best friend from the first one. Maggie goes on a date to one of Sean's games, and she ends up on the kiss cam with her date, and her date refuses to kiss her. So Sean sees it on the kiss cam, feels really bad, goes up and kisses her. And it leads to, obviously, the media frenzy of it, but his family, who has been kind of hounding him about finally getting in a relationship, were really excited and expectant. So Sean asks her, hey, can we be in a relationship until the end of the season so I can get my mom off my back? And then Lacey uses this as an opportunity. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not mention this, but Lacey is a pediatrician, so she uses this as an opportunity to get money for the hospital so her boss will give her a promotion. The premise was there. The banter at first was amazing, and it was great, and it was everything I wanted it to be. I just felt like I could not connect with Sean as much as I wanted to. I wanted to love him, but he's too perfect in this book. Even the flaws they give him are more perfectionism flaws. I wanted him to just be a little bit more roughed up, I guess. Lacey had her issues, and Lacey, I felt like, was more relatable, and then Sean just felt too perfect. I needed it to be a little messed up. I don't know. I think it's the dark romance. I'm telling you, it's the dark romances. They're tearing me apart. I can't even like a good dude. I need him to... Also, in this book, a lot of phrases got repeated, a lot of repetitiveness of how things were described, and that kind of took me out sometimes. And then it also got a little cheesy with the lovey-dovey stuff for me. That was that book. Next, I read Consider Me by Becca Mack. I give this a 3 stars. It follows Carter and Olivia. Carter is a hotshot NFL player. No, he's not. He is a hotshot NHL player, and Olivia is best friends with a girl who is dating another one of his teammates. And they meet at a bar one night, and Connor is a player. He does not date. He sleeps with one girl one time and usually doesn't go back for more. And Olivia knows this. Everyone pretty much tells her to stay away, but he, after meeting her at the bar, really wants to give this a shot. He can't stop thinking about her. This book started really good. The first 50% had me. I loved their banter. After 50%, I felt like the author was really trying for us to think that he could be better, and I never didn't think he could. I felt like he was a player, but he had good qualities where when you saw him with other people and you saw him kind of interact, it didn't need all those extra chapters to convince me that he could be a good guy. So I felt like there was just a lot of random dates and random things that were thrown in there, and it made the book longer. So it started to make me kind of draw away from the characters. The third act conflict that happened almost made me DNF this book because it actually pissed me off. I understand it kind of helps the plot for later people maybe, but I could not get with it. And also, he called his appendage, we're going to call it an appendage today, he called it Sword of Thunder.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
And he didn't say it one time. He didn't say it as a jokey joke. He kept saying it, and to the point where she even referred to it as that. And why? Where are we getting, what? I would just like to say, PSA, dear authors, we don't need a name for it. We don't need a name for their appendage. We don't need a cute little, we just need nothing. Actually, I don't need to know that he named his appendage. You want to know whose name I need to know? The characters. And I am fine. And the pets. Give me Fido. Give me mozzarella stick. I don't care. But I don't need to know the name of what he has going on down there. Or her, for that matter. I really like the book. I really wish it kept the pace of the first half. I feel like if it would have kept the pace of the first 50%, it would have been a 5-star. But it just really dragged in the middle. And then that third act conflict, I pretty much was over it. Next, I read Leather and Lark by Brynn Weaver. And this is in the Ruinous Love trilogy. The first one is Butcher and Blackbird. This follows Lachlan, who is Rowan from Butcher and Blackbird's brother. And it also follows Lark, who is Sloane's best friend in Butcher and Blackbird. Lachlan is a contract killer, and he just is kind of a recluse player type of guy who owns a leather shop and just wants to live his life while he works off his contract killing contract. Lachlan is a musician. There is a enemy in this book, someone after Lark's family, and also her best friend, who is pretty much her family. And the only person that can really get her information and help her figure this out is Lachlan, because he has access to a lot of things. Being a contact killer, he has a special system and things like that where they can look up certain things. He's under contract and he botched a job, so she promises to help him get out of that contract so he can finally live his life for himself and he won't have to be a contract killer anymore. This book was okay. I really wanted to like Lark. I really did. The thing about it, she's such a bubble and sunshine, and then obviously she's not that. That's a facade she puts on. I think it was too much. She can still be bubbles and sunshines, and she can still have that darker side, but they don't have to be such a 180 of a person. This is definitely a slow burn. It is a slow burn. They do not get together until I think about 70%, 65, 70% into this book. And it was great, but once they finally did it, it didn't give what it needed to give because they kept talking about wanting to be with each other so much that it was just like, it got to the point where you're just like, then do it.
Do it! Just do it!
You know, also the ending felt very rushed because we spent so much time trying to get to the point of when they finally say, I want to be with you, that when the plot of trying to find this person that is trying to hurt her family happens, they rushed it and they rushed the answer and they rushed the ending, so that I did enjoy that. But what saved this book for me was grandma in this book. Lark's grandma was the best character in this entire book besides the dog. I loved her. Anytime she was in a scene, I was smirking, smiling, giggling, anything. She was amazing. I loved her in this book. And she really saved this book for me. She also helped me kind of like Lark a little bit more. She gave her a bit more personality. Unfortunately, I was really looking forward to them and it kind of let me down a little bit, but that's okay. That is life. Next, for the rest of the books I read were in the Legacy of God series by Rena Kent. I just started reading them and couldn't put them down for some reason. They were just what I wanted to read. And I already read God of Malice last year. So I picked up the next one, which is God of Pain, and I gave this one a 3.5 stars. So to preface, there's two gangs, more or less, there's two colleges, and they each have their respective groups in them. And there's the King's U group, which are the heathens, I believe. And then there are the Royal Elite University, and I call them the elites. So the elites and the heathens. The heathens, I think, are the more Americanized school. The elites are British. And each book is taking a person from each group and putting them together. So forbidden romance, so to speak. And these are dark. These are dark romance, very dark. Check your trigger warnings and check them again because these are dark. Don't say I didn't say it because I said it. God of Pain follows Creighton, who is in the elites, and Annika, who is in the heathens. She's not in the heathens. Her brother is the head leader of the heathens. Creighton is also not in the elites. His cousin is the leader. He's just tied to them. Creighton is very quiet. He doesn't really talk. He doesn't speak. And Annika is very outspoken and social butterfly, and she's instantly drawn to him for some reason and wants to kind of bring him out of his shell and wants to get him to talk. Obviously, it's forbidden. They're not supposed to talk to each other. And I was most excited about this couple from God of Malice. I just love a quiet guy and then the social butterfly aspect. That's one of my favorite little inner tropes. I don't know what that would be called. It disappointed me, and that's why I gave it the rating that I did. It wasn't what I thought. I really wanted more from the couple, and I think part of it was Creighton was quiet, and he was quiet and reserved in the first book, and this book he was a jerk. He just was like, I don't need to waste my words on you. I don't talk unless you're worth me talking. Like, he was very like that, and in the first book, he was just kind of just more recluse, more quiet, kind of kept to himself, had his whatever. And he has his traumas, and he has things that he works on through this book, like every other character in the series. But I felt like he was using that to be an asshole, and I don't think that's fair to her. I did not like how over-possessive he was, and I know that's weird to say. Usually that's like a top thing, but he was to the point where if you were to be like, how are you doing? And give her a handshake, he'd punch you. And I didn't find that attractive. I found that annoying. I also think Annika was so naive, and I don't mind that a lot of these females in these series, in a lot of Rena Kent's work, they're virgins and things. What I don't like about the virgin trope is they always want to make them overly naive, like they don't know how the world works. She thought the world was bubbles and bubblegum, and even though her brother is the leader of a gang. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know something going on. Like, you can't be this naive to life. The ending of this book, there's always a big event in all of these, some kind of big trauma, some kind of big roller coaster ride of an event. I feel like we hit that roller coaster of an event, and then we hit another one, but that one was just felt forced. I felt like it was something that I just like felt like it had to happen, and I feel like it could have happened a different way and still got to them being together. They were annoying. Like, now that I'm looking back at it, they just annoyed me. And when they were together, he never, to me, ever gave her anything but being a jerk. Like, there was never a soft side. And I think that's where a lot of these other guys, like, yes, they were still very morally gray, most of them leaning towards black, but they still, when they were with that person, would be able to turn that off and give them like a softer, more emotional side. And he just still felt like caged or gilded. So next in that same series, I read God of Wrath. This one follows Cicely, who is in the elites, and Jeremy, who is in the heathens. Jeremy is the leader of the heathens, and Cicely is the little sister of the leader of the elites. I really liked them. I really liked these characters. I liked watching them come together. I liked their banter. I really did enjoy this one. This is when I was like, okay, I'm going to keep reading, because after the last one, I was nervous. I felt like if I would have gave this one also in the 3 range, I would have probably not picked up the next one. The kink for me was a little weird. It wasn't my cup of tea, but it wasn't off-putting. It didn't make me want to stop reading. It just wasn't for me. It was done well. It wasn't done too aggressive, but it was what it was. Like, the only thing I didn't really like was I didn't like how in this one, what I wished would have kind of been in the one before, they got really cheesy. But for once, the third act conflict in this made a lot of sense, and it did work for me. I'm usually a big third act conflict hater, and with this book, it made sense. I didn't even really have anything to complain about, and for me, that's rare. That was it. Next in that series was God of Ruin. I gave this book a 4.25 stars. This one follows Landon. He is the leader of the elites, and it follows Mia, and she is the sister of the right-hand man to Jeremy. Mia is also selectively mute. There was a trauma that happened in her life that caused her to stop speaking, but it's not physical, it's mental. And Landon is a shit disturber. He's the biggest instigator in this entire series, and he's my favorite, and I don't know what that says about me. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't know. He was unhinged, but I felt like he was so unhinged. There was nowhere to go but up, like, I really enjoyed this book. A lot of reviews were saying they felt it compared to the other ones. It was like a mashup, and I didn't feel that way. I really felt like it would stood out on its own. I really enjoyed watching their relationship come together and watch him try to learn how to not be so him. So he does not understand like how to be certain ways for people, but he wanted to learn for her. He wanted to learn to be more what she needed from him, and I loved watching that. I loved watching him fix the relationships that he kind of had broken with his personality and with his decisions. The plot twist of this book, the inner mystery, the plot twist, I was shocked. I gasped. I did not see that coming. The only thing I will say is there were a few gestures and just phrases and things that were said or done that were super childish. She was always flicking him off. Just like really childish things that were just repetitive, and it got a bit annoying. And that was the only reason I deducted it, because there was nothing else really to deduct it for. It was a good book. Next, and I'm pretty sure the last book I read in the month of February is obviously in the same series, and it is God of Fury. I gave this a 4.5 stars. This follows Nikolai, who is Jeremy from the Heathen's right-hand man, and it follows Brandon. Brandon is Landon's twin brother, who is leader of the elites. This book tore me apart. Obviously, this is a forbidden romance, this whole entire series, and Nikolai is openly bi, very confident in his sexuality, and Brandon kind of is more timid and is straight. They have an encounter that changes that, and Brandon has to come to terms with it. Fighting a lot of trauma, and he's also fighting a lot of his demons in this book. This one, out of all of them, I would say is really, please check your trigger warnings. This one will hit you in the gut. Brandon has my heart. I fell in love with him reading this book, and his story was so heart-shattering, and it was hard because you wanted them to be together, but you understood why he had such a hard time finally being able to like claim that he was gay and claim being who he was and confident. And Nico he's such a jokester and kind of like a ditz in the books, and he did such a good job kind of helping Brandon through it. He was still himself, but it wasn't to the point where he didn't take it serious or he wasn't serious. The way he was such a softie, the way that he catered to him, I was just kicking my feet. I just loved every second of it. The ending crushed me. I cried. I was sitting on my couch and my husband thought something was wrong because it took my breath away how heartbreaking part of the ending was. The only thing I will say with this is all these books, the timeline is the same, but where these couples get together in that timeline is different. This one starts before anybody's with anybody, and it works its way through all the events of the other books. And I felt like since that happened, they had to, since it started so early, and I understand it had to because Brandon was having a hard time coming to terms with a lot of things, the ending was rushed. The payout of the ending, that retribution you get usually at the end of these books, it was rushed and it didn't hit the same, and that's the only reason I knocked it off. I think if they would have maybe met a little later, then it wouldn't have had to go over all the events of every single book and then how they handled it and then all their trauma, especially for the emotions it brought out and how heartbroken you were. You wanted to kind of savor that retribution and you didn't get that moment. So those were all the books that I read in January and February. I'm glad my slump is officially kind of busted and I'm back into actually enjoying it or in reading and wanting to read. I think part of it though is like the holiday blues. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I missed this. I missed just sitting and blobbering and talking about books. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
With every recommendation, we can't get enough. KeeKee's BookTube magic, it's a treasure trove of love.